Imagine this. You wake up to a message that reads, "Congratulations, you've been selected for a one-way journey to a new world." It's the kind of message that stops your breath. A ticket to another star, to a planet no human has ever seen except through a telescope. But there are two impossible conditions. First, the trip will take 400 years. Second, it's one way. Your children, your grandchildren, none of them will ever return to Earth. Would you take it? Would you trade your sunrises, your childhood streets, the smell of rain on your home soil for the chance to seed humanity on a distant world? This is not fiction. It's a real thought experiment and a real plan, sketched by engineers and dreamers who ask, what happens if Earth can no longer protect us? Tonight, we step into that question. Tonight, we ride Mission Chrysalis, a voyage that stretches beyond politics, beyond lifetimes, into the slow, patient language of generations. Where are we going? A neighbor of our sun called Alpha Centauri. Not a single star, but three, a pair locked in a centuries-long dance, and a distant, quiet red dwarf named Proxima Centauri. Around Proxima orbits a small, rocky world, Proxima b, a planet that might be the closest thing to Earth we can ever reach. Proxima b sits in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, where liquid water could exist. Liquid water means one thing in the universe, possibility, but the star it orbits is volatile. Proxima flares violently, spewing radiation that could strip an atmosphere bare. We don't even know if Proxima b still has one. That uncertainty is exactly what makes this mission both terrifying and irresistible. To cross 400 years of void, you can't build a ship, you must build a society. That vessel has a name, the Chrysalis, a cocoon for humanity 40 generations long. Imagine a cylindrical city, 36 miles long, 58 kilometers from bow to stern, carrying 2,400 souls and everything they will need to live, grow, and create. There will be neighborhoods, markets, schools, hospitals, theaters, libraries. There will be births and funerals, friendships, fights, first loves, and final regrets. This is not a lifeboat. It is a world in transit. To make it feel like home, the Chrysalis will spin, generating artificial gravity by centrifugal force. Walk down a tree-lined boulevard pressed gently against the inner hull, and look up and see a sky rim where the ship's structure curves away into engineered horizons. Power comes from fusion reactors at the core, concentrated, almost star-like energy that keeps lights on and crops growing. Food will be grown in layered farms and hydroponic towers. Water will be recycled endlessly. Every drop, every breath will be part of a closed-loop system designed to last centuries. Outside, multi-layered shields and debris deflectors guard against cosmic rays and micrometeoroids, because at tens of thousands of kilometers per second, even a speck of dust can become a bomb. The technical hurdles are vast. First, construction. You can't launch a 58-kilometer ship from a single pad on Earth. The Chrysalis must be assembled in orbit, piece by piece, using the planet's resources. Asteroid mining, orbital factories, a global industrial surge spanning generations. Second, propulsion. To cover 4.3 light-years in 400 years, we must travel at roughly 15% of light speed, about 45,000 kilometers per second. Our rockets today aren't close. We need engines that exist today only in equations, fusion drives, beamed energy sails, or even antimatter concepts. Finally, survivability. Radiation, system degradation, impacts. These are steady threats over centuries. Finally, reliability. Every mechanical and biological system must endure with redundancy and improvisable repairability for 400 years without external rescue.
These engineering mountains will take centuries to climb. Yet, the conversation isn't only about tech, it's about ethics and identity. The first volunteers will choose this life, but their descendants, the second, third, 10th generations, will be born into metal and artificial light. They will never know Earth except as myth, image, or ritual. Their entire existence is framed by a promise made before they were alive. Is it right to commit unborn people to a fate they did not consent to? Is it noble sacrifice or an infringement on autonomy? Some will call this the ultimate act of guardianship, preserving human consciousness beyond a fragile planet. Others will see it as imposing a lifelong experiment on people who had no say in their own trajectories. The moral ledger is heavy and complicated. Does the species survival trump individual freedom? There are no neat answers. On board, psychological hazards loom as large as radiation. Centuries of close-quarters life will test patience, culture, politics. Imagine a society whose oldest stories are of Earth, but whose daily reality is corridors and engineered sunlight. Conflicts could calcify into factions. Boredom could sour into despair. Power imbalances could calcify into tyranny. Social design becomes as critical as reactor design. Governance systems will need to be robust, transparent, and adaptable across centuries. Rituals, art, education, these will be the bones that hold a multi-generational civilization together. Why think about this now, when launch is decades, maybe centuries away? Because the very act of imagining Mission Chrysalis pushes technology forward. The Apollo program gave the world satellite communications, mineral processing, advances in medicine, side effects of an audacious goal. A Chrysalis program would demand breakthroughs, near-limitless clean energy, perfect recycling, advanced robotics, resilient AI, new materials, and a culture of global collaboration. Those inventions would not be solely for Starship. They would transform life on Earth. Cleaner energy, improved medicine, smarter cities, and stronger international cooperation. And there is a less tangible but equally vital truth: perspective. When we dare to imagine leaving our planet, we paradoxically learn to love it better. The blue marble fades into fragility when framed against a field of stars. That fragility can be a powerful motivator to preserve Earth for ourselves and for those who might one day choose to leave. So, what does success look like? On the technical side, success is a ship that crosses the Gulf intact, whose last generation steps onto a foreign soil and breathes under an alien sky. But success is also ethical, a mission designed with consent, care, and fairness. A culture on board that respects individual dignity while honoring collective purpose. Success is a project that lifts humanity, not only through survival, but through the cultivation of empathy, knowledge, and art. And failure? Failure could be final. A mission lost to a single failure. A generation crushed by preventable disease. A society that tears itself apart from within. The costs are astronomical and the stakes are existential.
Still, there are reasons to be hopeful. Humans have met great challenges before by pooling resources and imagination. Global cooperation sparked the International Space Station. Decades of shared scientific effort gave us antibiotics and microchips. The Chrysalis is simply the scale-up of that same impulse, to choose long-term survival over short-term convenience, to invest in futures that outlast individual lifetimes. In the quiet between stars, this mission would also be a story of sacrifice and generosity. Those who volunteer to leave will do so knowing they might never touch Earth again. They bear the seed of a species that refuses to be a single-planet story. In that sacrifice, there is a peculiar nobility, a willingness to trade the immediate for a future they may never enjoy. We call them pioneers, but they are also parents, caretakers of a promise to all humanity. And yet, Mission Chrysalis teaches another lesson. Even if the mission never launches, the search for answers matters. The technologies, the conversations, the international frameworks we build in its name will help us steward our planet better. They can make life here more resilient, more equitable, and more beautiful. So here's the question again, now sharper. If you were offered a one-way ticket to build a new world, to carry the flame of consciousness across 4 centuries of darkness, would you go? Would you let your child be raised under an artificial sun so humanity might continue?
Say yes if you believe preserving the species is worth the cost. Say no if you cannot in good conscience bind future lives to a promise you did not make with them. Either answer is honest. Either answer forces us to reckon with our values. Write your choice and why in the comments. Argue for the future you believe in. Share this with the people whose voices matter to you. Because these conversations, careful, uncomfortable, hopeful, are the very first steps toward any long road. We may never take this journey, or one day, perhaps centuries from now, someone will step out into a cold dawn under a strange sun and whisper, in a language centuries old, "We came." Until then, let us keep asking the hard questions, building the hard machines, and practicing the compassion that will decide whether humanity's story is written once or continued among the stars.